Well, social movement was essentially people coming together and do something social change and social transformation. And since technology, we are talking about information technology, become part of our life, so invariably this particular thing will have an effect on how people do things together. Now, when we talk about technology, especially social media and social movement, this is also talks about shift from earlier social movement like 1950s and 60s and today's. Earlier social movement was essentially using a microphone, a loudspeaker, and try to bring together. But right now, it was essentially mobilization through social media. And there's another interesting aspect of the whole thing is it was essentially youth driven, if you will. They are very good in using technology, social media. At the same time, it also talks about how social change be affected. And most important of all, we have been told that social media essentially kind of disengage people, and it creates young people that does not have any social or political consciousness. But Middle East and the so-called Arab Spring talks about that it is up to individual how they like to use the social media. They could use social media in terms of isolate themselves. At the same time, they could use social media to bring people together and do something in this context, social change and overthrowing an authoritarian regime. So once again, technology is essentially a double-edged sword. It could do enormous amount of harm. At the same time, it could also do lots of good, and it depends on how you use it. But new social media and a new social movement, I think it's very good, But again, we have to be very very careful when we do social media. Some other people who are the enemy of quote unquote, doesn't matter how you define enemy, they could also use the same social media to create more restrictions and introduce more authoritarianism. That's what Chinese are doing. Chinese are very, very good in monitoring who is doing what in social media. So in one way, in one country, they are using social media to repress and oppress people. But in some other instances, social media could be a liberating tool. So there is some kind of a duality. It's very important that we understand it.